Hey there, fellow storytellers. You know that rush when you're reading a novel and you just can't put it down? Yeah, that's the power of a well-crafted plot. I stumbled across a crazy stat the other day. Apparently 97% of bestsellers have these common plot elements. So today, I'm going to dive deep into the 10 essential building blocks that'll help you craft a story that grips readers in 2024 and beyond. Whether you're aiming for the next bestseller or just want your story to resonate, these plot elements are like hidden treasures. They're the key to success. Let's get into it. So let's kick things off with the hook. That's your first impression. Picture this. I once started a novel where the opening was so bland, I literally dropped the book and never picked it up. It's sitting over there in the corner to this day. The hook's that crucial. It's the opening sentence or paragraph that makes readers need to know what happens next. Like in Orwell's 1984. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Instantly, you're like, what kind of world is this? For your own story, think bold statements, questions, or vivid imagery. Don't worry if you're not nailing it on the first draft. That's what edits are for. Okay, you've got their attention. Now what? This is where you set the stage with exposition. But here's the trick. You don't want to dump info like a textbook. Instead, ease readers into the world, letting them meet characters naturally through dialogue or subtle actions. I made the mistake once of front-loading a backstory, and guess what? I bored everyone to tears. Keep the flow organic. Blend in details while moving the story forward. Your reader should feel like they're slipping into a fully realized world without even noticing it. Next up is the inciting instant, the spark that kicks everything off. Imagine you're cruising through life when suddenly, bam! Something happens that forces you to change your direction. That's what your protagonist needs. An event that shakes up their status quo and pulls them into the main conflict. Like when Bilbo Baggins gets roped into that unexpected adventure by Gandalf. The key? Make sure it's big enough to force your character out of their comfort zone, but still tightly connected to the central plot. It shouldn't be random. It's the nudge that sets everything in motion. Now we're in the thick of it, the rising action. This is where tension builds and conflicts start stacking up. Think of it as climbing a mountain. Each step or obstacle pushes your protagonist higher, but it's also more dangerous. If you're like me, pacing is everything here. You want readers on edge, eager to see what's next, but you also need to give them moments to breathe. I've definitely fumbled this before, by dragging scenes out or cramming too much too soon. The goal is a steady increase in stakes, making that final peak feel earned. And then alright, you've reached the peak, the climax. This is the big showdown, where all that tension you've built comes to a head. It's gotta be impactful and feel inevitable, but also surprising. I've seen and made the mistake of resolving things too fast, which makes the climax fall flat. Instead, let your protagonist wrestle with the toughest challenge yet. The outcome should hit hard. Whether it's a victory, a loss, or somewhere in between, it needs to land with a punch that sticks with the readers. After that intense climax, it's time for some falling action. This is where you start tying up loose ends and showing the consequences of everything that just went down. But here's the catch, don't let it drag. You still need momentum as you guide readers towards the resolution. It's like cooling down after a run. You're still moving, just at a slower pace, allowing your characters to process and react. This is also a good spot to give your readers some aha moments as things come together. And now, the resolution. This is where you give your readers that satisfying ending, or leave them hanging depending on your style. A great resolution ties up your plot threads in a way that feels both natural and meaningful. I used to rush my endings because I was so eager to be done. But taking your time here is key. Whether it's a neatly wrapped conclusion or an open-ended finish that leaves room for interpretation, the resolution should resonate emotionally and leave your readers with something to think about. Here's where we get into the heart of any story: character development. Even the best plot can fall flat if your characters don't grow. A compelling plot is often driven by the evolution of your characters. It gives them goals, flaws, and arcs that push them toward change. One thing I learned the hard way is that characters need to earn their development, show their struggles, growth, and decisions clearly. It's what makes readers care about what happens next. Let's not forget the theme, the underlying message or idea that gives your story depth. Think of it as the glue holding everything together. Whether it's love, identity, or power, your theme should be woven naturally into the plot, not hammered over readers' heads. I've seen themes fall flat when they're too heavy-handed, so let it flow through your characters' actions and choices. A subtle approach hits harder than one that's too obvious. Lastly, let's talk pacing. It's like the heartbeat of your story. Good pacing keeps readers hooked, blending fast-paced action with reflective moments. I'm all about mixing it up. Throw in high-energy scenes and then slow down just enough to let things sink in. The trick is to keep things moving without overwhelming or losing your audience. It's a balancing act, but when you get it right, your story feels natural and keeps readers turning pages. There you have it, the 10 essential elements that can turn your story from good to unputdownable. Remember, these aren't rules, but tools. Play around with them, find what works best for your style, and keep pushing your craft. Got your own tips or plot hacks? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear what's working for you. And hey, if this helped at all, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification for more insights into creative writing with a dash of AI. And head over to bookmatchclub.com for more resources and tips. Keep writing and happy plotting.